if you are able to understand the time and space, then you will be able to understand how to develop the locations and the situations, because each and every location has its own characteristic, its own uniqueness. So when you are developing the scene, you will have to also understand that how your scene is going to be effective with a particular details of audio and visual descriptions, because every location has some sort of an ambience and some sort of a visual quality. Like if it's a school, a college, a market, a railway station, temple, church, or mosque, or roadside mall, because everywhere you will see a particular series of the visuals and the particular sound of ambience. So that particular ambience is also make an impact on the screenplay, on the visual language on the screen, that gives a particular effect of a sound on that particular visuals. So we have to understand that how to establish the location. When you are developing the scene, you must know that scene is happening in which space, and that space is a particular location. So you will have to also understand that how to establish the location. So as I have already told you that it's a very relative space of the particular location. So if it's a school or college or market or a temple or apartment, in that particular temple or apartment or the country or the city, you will have to establish that in which place that particular location is there. So either you can establish the city with the external wide shot of the details of the city, or you can establish the external look of the location. That can be a college or a school or a government office or a corporate office. So you can write the whole details. So writing the external detail is a different thing, and writing an internal detail is a different thing. So if you are going to establish the corporate office and the corporate building of the office, so that can be the details of the external look of that particular apartment or the corporate office. But if you enter into the lobby of that office, so that's a different location. If you are entering on the particular reception of that corporate office, so that can be the different location. If you are going into the cafeteria of that corporate office, so that can be the different location. And if you are going into the particular cabin of particular officer, or a particular work area, or a particular account area, or a particular graphic area, or it depends on what kind of a requirement of the situation is there in that particular location. So you will have to establish the location in your screenplay, because when you are writing the scene, so you must know what are the elements of the scene. So first thing is the location. Which is the location? So the location is interior or exterior, because this is the term for the cinematographer for making a lighting, that what kind of a lighting should be there in that particular location. So if it is a covered area, then it is called as a interior of the location, and if it is an open area under the sunlight, so it's a exterior. So in the scene, you will have to define the particular location as a space, and in that space you will have to write what is the action, what are the things, these things are visible in the scene. So these visual activities, visual elements, visual properties, everything you will have to establish, you will have to write in the particular scene, and that is called a scene description. So if it is a college library, So if it is a location of the library, then you will have to write what kind of a library is there, whether it's a library of art students or science students or medical students, or it's a mixed crowd. So you will have to also mention that what are the things are visible during that scene, and whether some other characters are there or your main characters are there, and what is their activity. Because on particular location, if you are trying to show the particular location, means there must be some logic that why your characters are having a particular activity in that location. So you will have to also understand that how effectively you can mention the certain audio and visual details about the location, so that will enhance the scene, that will enhance the details of the particular scene, because director will save his energy to tell the backstory of that scene. So whatever things are visible through visuals, and what are the things that are audible, so that is a source sound. So all the source sound on location you will have to write in a very effective way. The first thing is the ambience. So ambience is not a particular sound, ambience is a common sound audible on that particular location. Like I told you that, like a market or a school or a railway station, there is a common ambience of that particular location. So you have to mention the ambience, and if there is a particular sound audible with a particular source, so maybe there is a computer monitor is on, or some news channel is visible with it's a news, or some machinery are working, or some equipments are making some sound of a kind of a noise, or if there is a particular activity which creates a sound. So you have to mention the source of the sound in that particular scene, and the detailing about the activities, how your characters moves in these activities, how these characters are having their own activities in that particular location, what is the coverage of that activity in the particular space, and how they are having their interaction with each other, how they are having interaction with the properties on the location. So properties are what? There are two kinds of a property. One is just property and other is a must property. So if you have your location as a library, so what can be the just property? So naturally the cupboards of the books, or the walls of the books, and so many magazines or newspapers, or the racks of the books, or the people reading on some computer. So properties that will establish that this is a library is a just property. And what is a must property? Then if the characters are eating a chocolate and watching the mobile phone while reading, and they are doing a chatting, so the chocolate and the mobile phone becomes a must property in that particular scene. So if you are able to understand that, if the just property, how to use to tell the story of the location, so you will have to understand that just property creates an ambience of the particular location. It establishes the backstory, it gives a visual information to the audience with effective visual elements. So audience can make out with a certain details established in the background as a just property, whether it's a party office, it's a political party office, it's an educational institute, it's a government organization, it's a private organization, it's a writer's house or a director's house or a scientist house or whatever. So if you are establishing a particular location, it means there must be some sort of a characters of the properties which reflects the mind of your protagonist or your characters or your antagonist. So effectively you will have to use the tools in a just property to give a maximum information to the audience about the characters, about the story, about the situations without having any dialogues. So that's why it is called audio visual language. So as much as you will give the details of visuals, so equally you will have to also give the details of the source sound. If your apartment is there and in that particular apartment there are various kinds of sounds coming outside from the apartment or from that building, so you may establish that there is a temple outside the apartment, or there is a market outside the temple, or there is a school outside the house. So somehow you will have to establish that what is a particular detail of the location. So with the certain details of the location, certain properties, you can establish that locations belongs to the India or Pakistan or UK or England or Britain or US or Africa or China, because if you establish the certain details about the city, about the culture, about the location, about the geography in the certain details of visual elements in the screenplay, then it will save the production cost of a filmmaker, because with that effective basic source of information, visual information, art director and a production designer will design the production design and art direction in such a way that effectively with a minimum budget or minimum cost they can create the location which looks like your original location in the script. So scene, when you are writing the scene, you must know that how important are the details of the locations. So that is the visual details, audio details and the activity, the certain actions of the character, certain movements of the character, certain passing of the particular vehicles or the objects or the people, that will establish the particular location in your screenplay. So scene by scene you will establish the whole structure of the film. In each and every scene you will give the particular details. Now you will also have to understand what is the proportion of the details you are trying to give into your screenplay. So it's your creative judgment, it's your intellectual judgment that how much detail you can write in the screenplay, in the description of the scene. So it is basically enough information that will help your production designer to design the sets, to design the situation. It will help your art director to design the sets, and it will help your actors to get a particular emotional feel in that particular situation, that particular environment. So you can write hundreds of pages like a writers write in the novel, but in this case you will have to make your own judgment that what should be the proportion of writing the certain audio and visual details of the location. So if you are writing the location, it is not just a writing a location, but it's a presentation of the mind of your particular character which belongs to that particular location. So try to understand that cinema is a visual media. So maximum visual details should be mentioned in the creation of the scene. So scene is what it's scene is a particular space, particular time, particular action with characters or without characters. So each and every scene is a scene in relation of your story. So every scene must have some sort of logical connection with a particular scene in your story, or somehow it should be connected directly or indirectly to your story.